Somebody died.
I see he's homeless.
It's the real deal. It's just like watching the first 48.
Mm-hmm.
You in the thick of it right now.
Never thought of.
Never thought you'd be accused of murder because all the neighbors out there said that
I ain't tripping about being
them girls were shooting at that boy.
They ain't say them girls.
Imagine going on a quiet evening drive to grab a bite to eat when suddenly your car window is shattered by a hail of bullets. This is the tragic story of Eloy Lebron, a victim of violence in a world where crime knows no bounds. What makes this crime bizarre, however, is that this is a crime of pure chance. The killer and the victim were strangers with no history, no connection, and no rivalry. In the scorching heat of July 2020, the city police of Orlando found themselves having to break the news no one ever wants to hear to the Lebron family. However, they had no answers for Lebron's shocked and devastated relatives who could not think of anyone who would do this to their peaceful family. In today's bite-sized true crime recap, we unpack the question of what would possess two assailants to randomly pull their guns on a man they didn't know while surrounded by witnesses in the middle of the day. We'll also look at the issue of privacy versus citizen protection when it is revealed how Lebron's killers were finally identified. This case is one of the most shocking examples of senseless violence in recent years, so brace yourself for Caught on Tape, Chilling Killer Revealed. Unsuspecting 41-year-old Eloy Lebron was driving his 1998 Toyota Tacoma down Anderson Street and Jernigan Avenue with his friend in the passenger seat on July 23, 2020. Around 12:30 in the afternoon, per eyewitness testimony, a car rushed past and fired bullets into the Tacoma. Passers-by rushed to find a grievously wounded Eloy taking his last breaths. Next to him sat his friend in the passenger seat, who had miraculously survived by ducking in time to save him from the hail of bullets that flew through the window. Unfortunately, Lebron's wounds were fatal and he died on the spot, leaving police perplexed. No career criminal or assassin would have chosen such a busy street in broad daylight to stage the shooting. No hitman for hire would have been silly enough to risk identification. So why was Eloy targeted in this seemingly unmotivated attack? Eyewitnesses told police conflicting stories. Some said two young girls had been in the front of a 2004 white Saturn Ion, both firing guns at the Tacoma. Others said a boy and a girl were in the front, with the boy firing from the passenger side of the Saturn. But one thing was for sure. Two teenagers were involved in this shooting. But who were they, and what possible motive could they have for this brutal street murder? Traffic surveillance footage as well as eyewitness testimony got the police on track of an unlikely suspect, 18-year-old Marqia Angelia Hamilton. The various traffic stop cameras revealed that she and another young girl were the occupants of the suspect vehicle on the day of the shooting. The cameras showed the Saturn Ion speeding down north towards the Tacoma, driving south, releasing a burst of gunshots from a window once it slowed down, then speeding off. As the suspects attempted to get away without being apprehended, the Saturn, with the teens clearly identifiable on camera, took a sharp U-turn. The vehicle then sped off the wrong way, where it almost crashed into a truck driven by two brothers. A 10-page arrest warrant issued for Marqia detailed how she had been located via surveillance video footage, which clearly identified the license plate. The cameras also identified her and the other person, Marquia's cousin Jaria Shield, the driver of the car. What the arrest warrant didn't clarify, however, was why Marqia and her cousin Jaria shot and killed Eloy. The driver of the car, Jaria, whose name was not initially released to the public, also fired shots at Eloy and was also arrested. The two girls had also endangered others along the main road, pulling erratically into parking spaces and nearly running into other cars and passers-by. When the Saturn finally pulled into a house on West Concord Street, the police were able to identify the car. It belonged to Marquia's mother. The day after the shooting, police records indicate the questioning of one of the occupants in the Saturn. The other woman was not officially identified nor a suspect yet, and once Jaria was brought in for questioning, she didn't reveal much to the police. What happened next, however, was perplexing for the police when both girls denied involvement, despite being confronted with evidence that the vehicle was involved in the shooting. Marqia insisted that she and Jaria were close to the shooting when it happened, as they were in the area looking to buy marijuana. When the police asked them why they sped off, the girls said the sound of gunshots scared them and were the reason why they fled the scene. Marqia told police where she was before and after the shooting, accounting for the car's location as well. However, they suspected something was amiss when she was purposefully vague about what she saw or heard during the shooting. A detective recording the questioning at the time of arrest stated, when questioned directly about witnesses stating the gunfire came from their vehicle, she stated, "I didn't shoot," implying someone else was shooting from the vehicle. The analysis of Marquia's behavior during her interrogation shocked people who watched her nonchalant attitude. She knocked on the room's door a total of 72 times, demanding that her interview be carried out soon. A female and male detective took note of her interest in the military, the gun tattoo on her leg, and her lack of occupation. She stated that she had gotten into college but hadn't started classes yet because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Slovenly dressed in a hairnet and a t-shirt, Marqia appeared bored with the proceedings and eager to leave. Her alibi for July 23rd changed many times. Sometimes she was supposedly heading to work, sometimes she supposedly saw a guy running off to the sidewalk right after the shooting. At times, she would narrate a story about seeing a guy smoking weed at the time of the shooting, and sometimes she'd make up a completely different scenario. Marqia also said that they were at the hospital where Angelia found out she was pregnant, a detail the police noted as being memorable enough not to forget. The detective lightheartedly told her to join the army when she revealed that she has been arrested as a juvenile for fighting. Marqia began acting suspiciously when the detective asked her how she could afford an iPhone 11. This is where she started throwing Angelia under the bus, noticing that detectives seemed more suspicious of her being the shooter. She made them a map of where she was driving during the shooting, stating that "I don't got no ball to shoot nobody" when asked directly by the detectives if she had been the one shooting from her car. Marqia grew more defensive when she discovered that she and Angelia had been ID'd as the shooters. She gave up her phone password when the police informed her that her phone in her mom's car would be searched for evidence, yet she still did not confess in either her initial interview or the 2 hours in custody that she spent detailing her exact location during the shooting to the detectives. In the meantime, the girls' families continued to deny that she was the assailant. The news tightened around the case when the police reports detailed that both Angelia and Marquia's phones had been in the location at the time of the shooting. Video footage from a McDonald's near the shooting showed the two assailants wearing the exact same clothes that eyewitnesses had testified the shooters were wearing. GPS data from their phones determined that the two were in the area, and additional undisclosed information led to their arrest on manslaughter and illegal possession of firearm charges. Neither of the girls gave up any motive behind the shooting. Still, Marqia dug her own grave when she demonstrated to detectives how she would have shot out of a moving car, an act that matched the testimony of an eyewitness. This case is nowhere near concluded. Both assailants are currently out on bond, with the last update on Marqia being her awaiting a pretrial hearing in March 2021. Angelia was charged a year after the event and is still awaiting a verdict after a cursory status hearing. Perhaps more will be revealed about why these girls chose to take a man's life on that fateful day when they finally face trial. Until then, even though they are grief-stricken and wanting answers, Eloy Lebron's family remembers him with love. The following statement issued by his cousin summing up their feelings. "He touched all of our hearts and our lives in a way that it's unsurpassable amounts. He wasn't just another number, somebody who succumbed to the unfortunate events that are happening in the world we live in. He was a very good person.